The subject to this morning that I want to discuss with my audience, but first, before I get into it, I want to tell you that I have a book out called Real Stories My Mother Told Me. Real Stories My Mother Told Me, and this is at Amazon as well as Barnes & Nobles. So if you can, pick up a copy on your e-reader or iPad or tablet, etc. The conversation that I want to have with you this morning is about why relationships sometimes don't work. And that is that, and I'm talking about intimate relationships between man and woman and man, woman on woman, and man on man, whatever kind of relationship it is, intimate relationship. This sometimes just don't go, because I believe that we emphasize too much sex in the relationship. We put too much emphasis on that, rather than looking at the person's background and seeing if their background matches up what your experiences has been. You don't have to be exactly alike, but there should be some relevance between the two if you're going to have an everlasting and a long-lasting relationship. It is important that you know where the person came from, the parents of that person, what kind of people were they, what was their experience in the home, experience in their school. You have to look for that person that lines up well with your attitude and with what you believe in. Beliefs are very important. Yes, the love and making love and all that stuff is very sexy and it sounds exciting, but let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is not going to last forever. You already know that, of course, and we have to put our best foot forward in terms of finding the proper situation for our partners. There are good people and there are bad people. There are people in between. We want the best that we can find in terms of relationship, and it can be done. You can do it. Yes, indeed, it can be done. But you have to put time in development. What is your criteria? What kind of man are you looking for? What kind of woman are you looking for? What kind of other man you're looking for in a relationship? Or girl looking for another girl? What are you looking for? What is the dynamics in terms of what you see that is positive and that is a goal that you two would be able to make it? But you have to determine that. We can't determine that. Nobody can determine that. You must do a background check on all of these things. What kind of a loving relationship would you like to have? And do I have the person that I could have it with? It is not so easy to just have a relationship. It is a very difficult task. Remember that there's going to be bills to be paid. There's a sharing responsibility in that. It's the upkeep of the home. There is cleaning of the home. There's so many things that you have to look at if you're going to have a balanced relationship. That's what I'm talking about. A balanced relationship. And a balanced relationship is that you have to look in him or her background and see if those qualities that you need to succeed, or you both need to succeed, you must identify those right from the beginning. And if you don't, that is why so many relationships sometimes go wrong, because we didn't do the vetting process of each other. And I know that sounds, like I'm talking about some political situation, but I'm not talking about. Vetting is a very important word in terms of seeking a relationship. Because somebody looks hot and fantastic, that doesn't mean that person is good for you. Or vice versa. You may not be good for that person. I've heard stories where that your partner, all they want to do is stand in the mirror and prance and look good, and it's not too interested in anything else. That may not be for you. That could, of course, be for somebody else. But you have to identify what your needs might be. and hopefully that this person can fulfill those dreams that you have in terms of an intimate relationship with somebody. It isn't easy. You just can't go into a relationship on looks and sex and all that kind of stuff. Yes, that does come into play at a time, but you know as well as I know is that it's not going to last forever. If you look at Hollywood, there's oftentimes a lot of divorces that's taking place, and I believe that a lot of those people get married for the wrong reason. That's just my personal opinion. But you got to relationships has to be vetted and properly looked upon as something important in your life that will carry you out through the ages. It's not going to happen if you don't do that. You know, I've seen many friends of mine, they get married and then, a year or two later, oh my God, he's a terrible person. I wish I would have never married him if I had known what I know now. Well, there was a way to have done that. If you vetted that person good enough and identified that person and its background, you probably would not have chose that person right from the very start. But you did. And now what did you do? Here you're talking about you want to walk out, you want to go, and you want to do this, you want to do that. It's almost too late. Yes, of course you can get a divorce. But divorces are never nice, particularly when there is children in the home. I'm not saying one should stay married because of children. No, you shouldn't stay married because of children. But when children is involved, it becomes more difficult because the kids love you and the person that you're with. So it's sort of difficult sometimes to make those choices. But if you do your homework and you do the vetting process like you should, you won't have that problem because you would have already identified that individual as someone who has met your expectations. And you don't have to openly do it. You can just do it, on a free will person. I mean, when you go to his home, I mean, you get an opportunity to talk with his parents or her parents, and you find out, where they're coming from. What kind of people are they? One time I was seriously considering a relationship of maybe possibly even married with a young lady, but when I went to her house and I saw the way that her family was living and they used a lot of alcohol and all kinds of other stuff, I became afraid and I withdrew because I thought that she's a possibility that she may go into the same mode that her parents are in. For all I know, she might already be in that mode. I know that that's not somebody that I wanted to have forever in my life because it would not be good for me. I don't drink. I don't do any drugs or anything like that. So a person that does all of that, it would not be good for my lifestyle. I don't even smoke cigarettes. So that would not be good for my lifestyle. I need somebody who don't do those things and that wants to, have a cherished and a wonderful relationship. And I want a person that shares the responsibility in the home and shared responsibility with the children, shared responsibility in whatever it comes up in terms of our relationship. I want somebody to stand by me and we stand together, and I will stand by them as well. But you've got to identify what it is that you're seeking because it is very important that you vet that person to make sure that you have a good chance of going with this person all the way to the grave. That's what you want to do. That's got to be our goal. We got to get back to the simple basis. What is it that we need to find out about an individual before we take them on as my wife, husband, girlfriend, whatever the case may be? We have to acknowledge that just having a relationship is not it. You got to have someone that deeply cares about you and you care about them, and that you two are compatible for each other. That is the key word, compatible for each other. And if you don't do the vetting. You're not going to know where this person is compatible because they're good and they're exciting, they're handsome, or they're hot, and it's all, sexy, and that is not going to sustain a long-term relationship. That is why that I keep harping on the word vetting. Vetting is a process that you look, not obviously, look into a person's background and determine where that person fits the mold that you're seeking. Because it may not fit the mold. I don't know. But we've got to try to fit the mold that you seek. And that to have a everlasting love affair. And there's many different types of relationship, but you have to identify intimately what kind of relationship that you're looking for, and then put out check the points off that makes it life. You already should have a set goal in mind of what turns you on, what turns you off, what makes you happy, what makes you sad. You have a right to do this. It is very important that you do. And if you intend to have an everlasting relationship, take this advice. Vet the process. Vet your partners in a less obvious way. You can do it conspicuous, and to make sure that the checkoffs that you have on your own agenda matches with his or hers. Yes, indeed. You must do this, because if you're going to have a long relationship, you don't want to something come up 2 years later and you said, oh, well, I didn't know. Well, you didn't know because you didn't try to know. If you'd invested the time that you needed for this type relationship, or your relationship with him, you would have known this for a fact. And it's all possible to have good and personal relationships with your lover, with your husband, with your significant others. You can do it. But just know where the person is coming from. Background of people tells you a great deal. A lot to know. I've always practiced it, and you got to go over to find out. Make sure you meet the parents. Even if the parents don't live together, make sure you meet the two of them on separate occasions. Talk, spend time, have dinner with them. Show your love for the guy that you have. And you can do this, ladies and gentlemen. It is very simple to do. And I believe that's why sometimes relationships don't work, because we have not done the proper vetting. Vetting is an easy way to do, and plus, rather than getting you 2 years, it can get you 100 years to death. And you should try that. And if you don't have a relationship and you're seeking a relationship, don't just settle for somebody because they looked at you in a club or in the church or wherever the gathering that might do, or in college. You got to say, is this the kind of person that I want to spend the rest of my life with? That is that general attitude that you must have when approaching a relationship, because that is a very serious thing. That has to do with your livelihood, the way you both live, and all of that kind of stuff. And you, ladies and gentlemen, you can do it. Vetting. Remember, that's the key word, vetting. I'm going to say it again. Vetting your lover's background is important that you do it, and I hope that you do it in good taste.